provoke you.
Hey, welcome to the meeting of the Planning Committee on this day, the 28th of March. Welcome councillors, welcome members of the public. Thank you for coming this evening and welcome to class. Let's start with the first item on the agenda, which is number 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any this evening? I don't have any apologies. No. Thank you. And item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? Yes, Councillor Arlott.
Yes, Chairman. P23/SO897/full is Henley Housing Trust, which I'm chairman of. It's only an application that has already been passed previously. I think the Henley Society missed that one. And also P23/SO945/HH. It's for 50 St Mark's Road, and the gentleman's a friend of mine. So I won't speak or vote on either.
Okay, right, thank you. Item number 3, minutes. To approve the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 14th of March. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Romans, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And 2 of 3 is to consider the draft notes of the Climate Emergency 2030 Working Group meeting held on the 1st of March. All noted, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And 3 of 3 is to consider the draft notes of the Transport Strategy Group meeting held on the 16th of March. All in favour? Thank you. And item number 4 is public participation. Would you please indicate if you'd like to speak this evening? Okay, thank you. So if you'd like to stand and tell us your name and confirm that you live in Henley and which application you're speaking to, and whenever you're ready, 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity of addressing the Planning Committee. My name is Dr. Lincoln. My wife and I are long-term residents of Rollerfield Road, which is immediately adjacent to Grasmere in Peppard Lane, which is the subject of the planning application, the bottom of page 18, I think, of your notes. My house is located to the rear of the site, about 5 metres from the rear boundary of my house and Grasmere, so we're quite close to the Grasmere site. You will notice that the planning application involves a swimming pool and a very substantial garden room. The garden room contains a heat pump, a pool plant, a gym, toilets, wash basin, changing rooms, relaxing area. And it has all of the ingredients for permanent use. It's located very close to the boundary of my land, and also the boundary to Barton House, which is adjacent to our house. It seems clear that the swimming pool and its substantial garden room is intended for regular use. The end of the pool is about 11 metres from my kitchen and the bedroom immediately above it. So it is quite close, and the relaxing area identified with the pool is even closer. Now, you'll be aware that a pool, by its very nature, generates parties, lots of noise, disturbance, often quite late in the night. And the heat pump and the associated plant room can be expected to generate additional significant noise and vibration, perhaps on a continuous basis. Now, my concern for the likelihood of this disturbance is based on a recent example, which I think is very relevant to this case. About 2 years ago, a large cabin with bright exterior lights was constructed on the Grasmere property, right on the boundary with my house, at about 9 metres from our living room and overhead bedroom. There was no discussion or consultation prior to construction. There have been a number of occasions when there have been groups of people meet in this cabin, and the noise from these parties have been clearly audible until the late hours. What is happening, in effect, is that the proposed application will be of a very large pool and house on the other side of the property. So we'll be really quite close to that property. And regardless of the intentions of the current owners of Grasmere, the possibility of some change of ownership or short-term renting of the property would also be taken into account. And indeed, the very significant investment that will be made to build this pool suggests that some additional revenue from perhaps short-term renting is being considered. I've got no doubt at all that the pool and its associated buildings will significantly affect our property and our enjoyment of our garden. And I hope these concerns will be taken into account by the planning committee.
Thank you. Can I just ask one question, if you don't mind?
Of course.
Have you put your comments onto the planning portal?
No, and I'll explain why. We were under the impression that the consideration would go straight to SODC. And so we have a note from SODC when we inquired about making objections that said that the objections have to be put onto the website in about 2 weeks' time. So it was only about 2 hours ago that we learned that this was coming before you as a planning committee. I'm sure that's down to our negligence of not keeping in touch with the planning process. But that explains why we haven't made a note to this effect on the website.
Yeah, the letter said the 8th of April, we've got till then, so we were going to do it next week.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plants first and then Councillor Arlett.
Just looking at that, is it your neighbour then that already has a swimming pool?
No,
No, obviously there's a schematic above.
Vivian does. Vivian.
oh, I'm sorry. Do you mean our immediate neighbour?
Your immediate neighbour on Rodford Road.
Farmhouse?
Yeah,
Yeah, she has a swimming pool in the garden.
Yeah.
Situated in the middle of the plot.
yeah.
Rather than close to any of the
I was
boundaries.
just trying to figure out the layout.
Very
No, good point.
Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, but my question would be, are you against a swimming pool totally? Or would you, if it was moved away from your boundary, would you then be a supporter?
I think it's, I'm not sure a supporter, but we'd have to classify myself as a supporter. But you're quite right, it's the location of the pool, very close to the boundary of both my house and also the house next door, Barton House, which is generating most concern. I think you'd probably want to think about whether such a large garden house with the facilities I've mentioned, including toilets, basins, changing rooms, etc., is really appropriate for a residential property in this area.
Any other questions? Councillor Gavshak?
I'm not asking you to speculate because this is the planning application before us. But is Grasmere's, really just for a comment, is Grasmere's plot big enough to actually move the pool?
Yes, without question.
Oh, okay. And my second question then is, could you just expand on the heat pump noise and the fact that the garden room is close to your boundary?
Yes, the garden room is something like 1.5 meters to the boundary. And something like, I think it's 11 meters from our kitchen on the bedroom above the kitchen. The noise and vibration from a heat pump and also the associated filtration plant of a swimming pool, including, of course, the heating of a substantial pool, can be quite considerable. Now, of course, claims can be made that you can soundproof that sort of equipment, but experience suggests that nevertheless you can get low frequency vibration coming from the pump, and that pump would probably be run on a continuous basis.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Okay, let's move on, councillors, to item 5, which is plans amended on page 15. The first one we have this evening is P23 S0240. It's a householder application for 18 Berkshire Road. Councillor Plant.
Reiterate refusal, lack of substantial change to deter from that original judgment.
Okay. Councillor Gavshak, seconded.
Seconded, absolutely the same comment.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of registration refusal? Thank you, that's carried. And the next item is P23 S0343, so household application for 22 Valley Road. Councillor Plant,
Same again.
seconded by
Seconded.
councillor Gavashak, thank
Fine.
you. Yes, councillor Arlott, you'd like
Yeah,
to speak?
I didn't see a lot wrong with this. There's been numerous extensions back and front on those properties down there. And I don't believe this one is hardly any different to some of the other ones that's taken place. It's not an application you're gonna ever win if it went to appeal, so I would tend to support this one.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes,
The
councillor
only
Buckley?
Question I've got on that. Okay, is there a significant difference from the amendment plans? Because we refused it last time.
Councillor, any
I
councillor
don't
minutes?
see a substantial difference
No.
at all.
So on that basis, I would.
Yeah, well, let's go put it to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal on the same grounds? Okay, thank you, that's carried.
Then we can take it the rest of the city.
Okay, let's move on to plans new, agenda item 6. Okay, the first item on the agenda is P23 S0358. It's a householder application for 1 Elizabeth Road. Councillor Plant,
Propose acceptance.
that's seconded. Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Arlott.
Just briefly, I would be a supporter of this. It's a bungalow. It's been sitting there for years. It's an absolute eyesore. That's no reason to get the planning permission. But it's a massive piece of land there. And it's going to be turned into a kind of a chalet type bungalow. And yeah, I really see no problem at all there. I really don't.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. The next is P23 S0698. And that's S73. It's landscaping, I presume. It's a variation of a condition for this property, 66 St Andrews Road. Councillor Plant.
Straightforward agreement.
Seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And this one is P23 S0703. It's a householder application for 35 Park Road. Councillor Gavashak.
Propose acceptance. Any side comments or no issues, so acceptance, please, Chair.
Okay, seconded. Councillor Buckley, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlott?
Yeah, I'm going to vote against this. It's much too big. It's as simple as that. We've had quite a few up there. They're very small houses, and they put these extensions out the back, or they try to, and all it does is just seems to shade a neighbour. I just think it's totally out of character on what's there, and I think the pre-app said that. Maybe other people didn't read the pre-app, so I would not be a supporter of this one.
Okay,
So the dormer's the one difficult issue, but then there's the dormer that's only 2 down from it without planning maybe built already, so it's hard. It's difficult. It's a difficult one.
I haven't started on dormers yet.
This one is the one. This one's a flat roof dormer.
okay, would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to vote? Because the motion has been seconded. No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried, thank you. I'm going to take the next two together. P23 S0774, it's a householder application for 4 Fair Mile, together with the listed building consent, which is P23 S0775. Councillor Gavashak.
I propose acceptance.
Seconded.
Subject to consideration.
Yeah.
Subject to conservation,
Yeah.
thank you. That's been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval, subject to the conservation officer. Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P23 S0823, it's a householder application for 15 Makins Road. Councillor Plants,
I accept them, but we just need to make sure it's only ever used as part of the existing plot.
okay, is that seconded?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So that's a condition of planning
Can we-
in perpetuity? Yeah? Yeah, councillor Arlett and then Buckley.
Yeah, look, I have a major issue with this one. As far as I'm aware, one of these applications has not come before us before. And I think you're going to open up the floodgates if you're not careful. To suggest that this building is going to go in the back garden for someone's mother, I totally understand that. You know, everybody, if they've got a mother, I'm sure they wants to look after her, but it's a 4-bedroom house. So I would have thought they could find a bedroom in the house for the mother. But I think to put this building in the back there, and we're going to say, oh yeah, it'll be until the poor soul passes on, or it'll be there for a year and then it will stay there. And I think you're going to open up the floodgates if you support this application. It's a bad move if people then support it. So I'm definitely a non-supporter of this one.
Okay, councillor Buckley.
So we had one like this a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. They wanted to
Mm.
put.
It's a bigger plot.
Yeah, it's a bigger plot. Can't remember whether we granted permission for the other one.
We did.
We
did.
did,
She
yeah.
built herself a granny house, basically. So only
Yeah.
that she could stay in Henley.
Yeah. And then the question I've got is what happens at the end of it? You know, at what point do you turn around and go, well, you know, she's been there for a couple of weeks, so she passed away, sadly. And then we've got to knock it down again. It'll turn into an Airbnb.
There was one, I'm not going to say where, when I first became a councillor. And they said that it was going to be a granny annex, and no sooner was it built than somebody actually moved in and is in renting it. So it's very, very difficult.
And the
Are you
bed-
supposed to prove that you've got a granny or something? I don't know. We're considering planning. We're not looking at the, you know, the anything
Yeah, the
behind
use
that.
of
We're
it,
looking at planning considerations only.
So on that basis, if we're looking at the plan permission and there's no issue with the plan, yes, I get what you're saying, that we end up opening the floodgates. But I think we can't really close the floodgates, either.
On a case by case basis.
I mean, on this particular one, I do think the plot is smaller, and I do think it's butted up against the neighbour. I would like to see it further away from the boundary, personally. What do other councillors think? Were you seconded? What would you like to say?
Well, no.
No, nothing.
I'm happy. I won't say anything.
Right, okay, well, if no other councillor wants to speak, let's put it to the vote then. All those in favour of approval, subject to being ancillary use. And against? Okay, so that's carried.
Was that 4-3?
Getting closer, Ken.
Hopefully puts in for his own granny annex and we'll refuse that one. But you've got a big plot though, Ken.
Granny annex with dormer windows.
Yeah, flat roof on the window.
Okay, let's take the next one. I'm going to take the next two together. We've got P23 S0827. It's a householder application for 15 Northfield End. And P23 S0830 listed building consent. Yes, councillor Plants.
Approval subject to conservation.
Seconded.
Second.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of approval subject to the conservation officer. Thank you, that's carried. And the next is P23, that's 0874, it's a householder application for 28 Deanfield Road. Councillor Buckley,
I'd like to go against that. It's just too big.
okay, is that seconded? Councillor Arlett, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Plant.
Yeah, I was sort of mildly indifferent to it to start with. I mean, that whole street, having lived on it for many years, has been, there's been some incredible developments up and down it, but with slightly larger plots with a bit more space around. So I'm minded to say that this one is an overdevelopment with the size of plot they have between the two boundaries on each side.
Okay, Thank you. Would any other council like to speak before we put, yes, councillor Arlott?
Yeah, I think the design of it is just so alien to what's there. Like, it's unbelievable what's being proposed, I think, anyway. Like, it's only second to Simmons Road, to be honest, and that was bad enough. But I just think it's, someone's just drawn something up and say, well, let's draw something up, see what it is. We'll put it in and see what happens, Well, what happens is we should turn it down. And the design is awful, it's out of character, the size, bulk, you name it, everything's wrong with this application.
All right. Okay, thank you. So let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? Thank you, that's carried.
Did I win it? Only
No, I won that one.
It's not a competition.
Apologies.
Okay, next is P23 S0897. It's a full application for 25 Lever Road. Yes, councillor Clark.
Recommend refusal, Madam Chairman, on the overdevelopment and the parking situation up Greenhill Road.
Parking, yeah, okay. Is that seconded? Councillor Buckley. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Gavashak.
Well, I'm not going to support this proposal. I think this is a conversion to flats, and each flat is one bedroom and it has 2 parking spaces, so I can't see the objection to the parking spaces at all. 2 flats, 2 bedrooms, 2 parking spaces, job done. So I will be voting against this.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Buckley.
It's ridiculous, right? I mean, it is ready type around there.
Mm.
So any works that have to be done, everything around it, it is too small. I'm trying to put 2 tiny flats into a semi-detached house. All right.
Yes, councillor.
I think this is one of the few times, oh gosh, when we say, oh, there's impacts on the neighbours, and not a single neighbour has complained about it, whereas this is one where pretty much every neighbour has complained about it. And yet we find grounds to refuse when no neighbour has complaining. And I think one of the neighbours has put it quite rightly, it's like, we don't know who's, and this is the problem with flats, you don't know who's going to move into them. You don't know if, like in my flat, there's 2 adults in each flat and each adult has a car each. So this number of flats could easily be twice the number of cars that's being mentioned. So I think it's too congested.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to sum up?
No,
Let's sum up, because you did the proposal.
Students from the college use that as well.
Well, we can't, that's not material planning consideration.
My main concern is the parking.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? And all those against? Okay, where's carried? I'm going to abstain. I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted. It's not often I'm conflicted, but I am. Okay. That's what I was thinking last night.
Without approval.
I'll show you later.
When we talk, she looked at us. We now talk.
Okay, the next one is P23 S0921. It's a householder application for 22 Albert Road, and it appears to be retrospective. Who would like to make a proposal?
Refusal.
Councillor Buckley, you're refusing?
On retrospective, it's a lot of change, and it's quite tight around there. And it's retrospective.
Yes, councillor Pines, that's seconded.
No, I think the retrospective obviously entirely wrong, but it's quite similar to a lot of, used to live on Albert Road, it's quite similar to a lot of the developments that have gone on down there. So I don't believe there's anything actually wrong with it. It's just very annoying that it's coming in retrospective again. That's the annoying thing.
Can we help you?
They're here for the film.
We can't see the film.
Next door.
Next door.
Sorry.
That's right.
So do we have a seconder yet for refusal? No? Okay, that's fallen then. So let's put a proposal together then. Yes.
Slap on the wrist for approval.
Seconded? For approval, thank you. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval?
Beautiful gable thing out the back.
And against?
Approval.
Councillor Arlott, are you abstaining?
I think I'll stay, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's approved. Thank you. That, I mean, that's carried. Okay, the next one is P23. Actually, this is. I think we've all practically got that.
Oh, yeah.
This
Yeah,
is,
listen,
yeah.
this next application, I think we should, if you don't mind me saying, just let me know if you don't agree with me. This is actually, they actually sit on the council on the climate emergency working group, and I'm just wondering if we should just make a no comment.
why is that a DPO? None of us have a financial interest in it, unless we think we can't be impartial because he's replacing with more efficient windows.
How would they see it on the outside?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I don't mind either, because we're only passing a recommendation, that's like, I couldn't even point Tony out in the street if I was, no, actually I could, that's it. But I think, you know, this is such a simple
Right,
application.
put it this
inefficient
way,
windows
I'm
for
going
efficient.
to abstain. Councillor Arlott's already said he's going to abstain. Who wants to actually take this up and move it forward?
I will, but I think.
Councillor Romans,
But I think-
I'm abstaining.
you abstaining? Councillor Clark, you abstaining, or would you like to say?
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining, okay.
Well, we don't have court anyway.
So I haven't got enough people to make a comment on this then. Okay, we'll pass no comment.
I won't quibble with the terms of reference, we are quorum,
Yeah,
we are quorum here, the fact that other people
Everybody's abstained.
don't take part in the vote,
Oh, fine.
doesn't mean we have to be more than 4 councillors for the vote, because there are.
There aren't enough
Absolutely.
councillors to discuss what's in front of us though.
You're right.
We're not commenting.
Yeah, no, but your comment is not commenting. That's your
Yeah.
discussion. As in, so you're here to discuss, you're just choosing to not, so we're still court.
Yeah. We're still quorum,
And
we
I'm
have
sorry.
2 people who, well,
No, but
I don't think you've got enough people to actually take a vote on.
It doesn't matter either way.
No.
It's
Fine,
gonna,
okay.
it's gonna be
Let's move
approved.
on.
I don't know the
Okay.
people, I wouldn't send to approve it anyway.
You wouldn't have.
I would have
Okay,
said.
let's move on, councillors.
yes,
Yes,
okay.
definitely.
The next one is P23 S0976, and it's a household application for 36 The Close. Who would like to speak first?
It's a 50-50 one again. I'm going for approval.
Is it seconded? Councillor Romans is seconding. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlott.
although I know the architect, I just cannot believe the size of this dormer. But the only thing in its favour is that it's at the back of the property.
I've got a picture.
Yeah, and that's the only probably reason I wouldn't vote against it, but, you know, there's no need for it, you know, there's a property next door that's got 4 Velux roof lights, and they don't need a great big dormer. You know, sad, well, luckily you can't see it, or nobody's ever going to see it other than the people on the inside, or maybe the neighbours, but it's not the kind of thing I think we should support,
Okay,
but that's my view.
would any other councillor like to speak?
I mean, it's not that attractive, but I don't think it poses a problem to anyone else is the thing, so yeah, approve.
All right, would you like, do you want to speak?
No,
No,
no.
okay, well, so we've got a motion for approval, it's been seconded. Let's put this to the vote, all those in favour? Okay, that's carried, thank you. The next one is P23 S0989, it's a householder application for 10 Harcourt Close. Councillor Plant,
Straightforward reapproval.
seconded?
Second, yeah,
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And we have P23 S0997, it's a household application for Grassmere, Peppard Lane. Councillor Gavishak?
I'm going to propose refusal of this, thank you. Yeah, there's a neighbouring property who came and talked to us. I'm going to propose refusal on the grounds of unneighbourliness, overlooking, and the changing room, garden room is too close to the boundary, and there will be absolutely noise from the heat pump and from the filtration equipment. So therefore, I regard it as being unenabling. The owners of Grasmere should come back with better proposals.
Okay, is that seconded? Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Plant?
I'm conflicted on it, 'cause looking at the plan above, I mean, the dimensions that we're talking in compared to the houses that most live in are vast, 5 metres, 11 metres, they're large spaces. And if we look at the area of shop above, the plant room from the neighbour looks probably closer to Grasmere's boundary than they're putting the actual room to the others. There's a workshop again that from the plan looks closer to Grasmere's boundary than they're actually putting the garden room and pool house to the other boundary. So it looks like most people's boundaries, everyone's put either a workshop or a plant room or a garage as close to someone else's boundary already. And in fact, the back of Grasmere has a garage within a couple of metres and a workshop within a handful of metres as well. They're simply looking to do almost the same thing, which is for the garden room pool house in the corner of their plot next to somebody else's boundary again. So I find it difficult to say why one is allowed and has gone ahead and has done it, and why this one isn't. I do completely appreciate the concerns of noise and sound, and we had one at the bottom of St Andrews or St Mark's where someone put a swimming pool in a much smaller residential area. But it's something that we've always protected these particular plots on, is they're huge, they're vast, and within reason, as long as they haven't tried to subdivide it, they've pretty much got the space, the tree coverage that you can see from the overhead plans to mean that these things don't create a huge loss of privacy. You can see from the overhead view how many trees there are surrounding both these areas, but it's a difficult one.
Councillor Romans, you'd like to speak?
Yeah, I'm taking through appreciation what Councillor Plant has just said, but I mean, when I look at this, I think to me it looks like a mini health club. Without wishing to exaggerate, I mean, changing rooms, heat pumps, all of this malarkey. And yeah, okay, fine, maybe they could probably move it back a few feet so it's less obtrusive. But all the same, I mean, it doesn't overcome, the problems which we've seen with this. So this is it. It's a straightforward no.
I think.
Yes, councillor, let's give Councillor Buckley a go, yeah.
Give my
Here you
chance.
go.
So for me, I appreciate what you're saying, but there is a big difference between having a workshop that isn't used 24 hours a day or isn't used at night. You can have you could turn around and say you can approve the pool, but we're not going to approve the pool house. To be fair, if you've got a big house, why would you not just have the space in? But there's different ways to design it. And I think squeezing everything to the edges. Yeah, that's what people do, but if you want to have a swimming pool in there, put a swimming pool in. But if it's too close to the boundary, or if it is going to cause problems, they could almost relocate the heat pump and everything else like that. Where it could be moved around a bit. You've got neighbours complaining on both sides. If the neighbours are saying it's unneighbourly, and it is potentially, they might come back with a revised plan. There might be reasons why they want to put it there.
Not a single name of lodged online, but only one this time. So.
No, what, there was emails when I from Kath today, from Dr. and from somebody else as well. That's two proposals, and again, part of this may well be, as Jeff pointed out, because they're just trying to rush it through.
Okay, yes, Councillor Gavishak.
Should I sum up?
Yeah, of course.
Everybody else's. I've got a couple of things in my head that I didn't speak earlier in summing up. The fact that this pool, right, it's a big plot, so move it. That's my first point. The second point is, this is a heat pump, therefore, there will be hot water in the swimming pool. Therefore, you could have use of the swimming pool all year round. Therefore, I absolutely empathise with the idea of noise and parties, and it could be the whole year round. So therefore, I stick with the proposal of refusal.
Unless you have an invite. Unless you have an invite.
Okay, so we've got a proposal, it's been seconded, all those in favour of refusal? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, and agenda item 7 is, do we have any call-in applications this evening? No,
I didn't see any.
no, I didn't either. Okay, item 8, which is just to note the
Well,
decision.
Councillor Lard come back, I think we should have symbolically call him fifth then.
Note the decision notices, thank you. And oh, sorry, I'm really in the mess with the agenda. Right, let's note please the certificate of lawful development applications. We've got one for the Lemon Tree, 1A Kings Road. We've got one for proposed use of the land for siting a mobile home for ancillary use to the main dwelling, 15 Makins Road, and we just discussed that one. Very odd. Then we've got one for conversion of a garage at 5 Manor Road.
Is that one that Ken tried to refuse and they've gone over it anyway? Oh, yeah.
Something that I don't understand is how it can be a a lawful development, lawful
Thank you.
development at the same time
Thank
as
you
a
very much for
household
your time.
application.
I think it's a bolts and braces way of going in for full planning rather than just a lawful development.
But which one carries the weight? Which one is going to be ultimately
Full.
considered?
Yeah, but the main planning application, but this is saying lawful development means that they don't, it's permitted development. That they should get confirmation that they didn't need to put in planning, that they have put in planning.
Just to go for the full whole. Yeah, we've seen it quite a few times now.
It's nonsense, isn't it? Right, I like using that word. Okay, item number 10 is the government planning consultation on permitted development rights. Yeah, would you like to?
I thought we were
Go
gonna say,
ahead.
did anyone read it?
So this consultation would result in changes to the General Permitted Development Order 2015. And the government is seeking views just in England on the potential impacts on communities. The consultation runs to the 25th of April. So the first alteration, which I don't think makes much, is particularly of interest to Henley, is allowing temporary campsites for tents, up to 30 tents for up to 60 days a year. Then there's an item on solar equipment on domestic and non-domestic buildings. So it's to allow solar roofs, solar panels on flat roofs, which aren't allowed at the moment, and solar equipment on walls of domestic properties which front a highway in the conservation area, and also flexibility for standalone solar panels within the curtilage of houses or flats in the conservation area. What's probably of most interest for the town council is non-domestic solar, which would increase the amount that you can generate and relax these restrictions on roof slopes that front a highway in conservation areas or AONBs. So if we were to want to put solar on the town hall, for instance. Also, it removes limitations on standalone non-domestic solar being closer to the highway than the building. There's also an item about solar canopies and permitted development rights on non-domestic car parks, with a maximum 4 meters height, but not in conservation areas. And also there's more flexibility for local authorities and companies being able to install things like EV charging points on behalf of local authorities. I don't really understand what the difference is, because we can already contract someone to do that for us, but that's what they're introducing. So those are the items within that consultation. And it seems, particularly with regard to the solar items, that it would be a good thing for the council to put a response in, a minimal response in.
Because we do have a lot of conservation areas here. We have got 7 in total, haven't we? Councillor Plant, you want to make a comment?
I was just, I haven't managed to check, but I thought the camping one potentially would affect us, because down by the management college, where they have the temporary camping through summer and bits like that, it basically greatly extends the amount of days. Or let's say lockdown lodge, where you've got obviously the lodge there that's currently only allowed 28 days. does it literally mean that they're potentially doubling the amount of time? But I know that that's different because of business, but could they then copers think, hey, great, we're going to chuck up 30 tents for 60 days right next to the room?
I don't think any of those are in Henley. We've got very limited space in Henley,
Sure.
40 acre field.
Protecting all of them. Yeah.
Would any other councillor like to?
Sorry.
Councillor Gavshak?
Hands up, I haven't read this document at all. Thanks, Kath, for doing it and giving us a summary. From what you said, I mean, they are saying without planning permission, you can put solar panels on the roofs facing the highway
Yep,
in a conservation area.
Yeah. Yeah,
They want to extend the permitted development. rights.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I would definitely want to comment on that.
Imagine
Rather than just looking at the buildings.
But necessary.
necessarily the King's Arms, well, look how beautiful that 400-year-old tile roof is with a bunch of panels on it. Until they make tiles that look like, roof panels that look like tile. Imagine the town hall if we tried to tell the residents that we were going to slap a bunch of solar power. I completely understand the use of them, but it would destroy the aesthetic of Henley.
We
Councillor
do
Hillier.
clay tile, conservation solar panels, clay tile type, but they've still not perfected them yet. And I think until they perfected them, the historic buildings, they'd be
like
totally.
conservation roof
unsuitable.
lights.
Yeah.
That would be completely my
Yeah,
comment. Is like until they can literally look
Yeah.
the same and maintain the same street scene in consistency with the conservation area, then it's a no.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think I agree with that comment. Would
But
any other
on-
councillor like to speak?
On the back of buildings, fine, from my point of view, but the street scene is,
Should be preserved as
Yeah,
as it is.
which
Yeah.
is the back of the town hall, that one, so only Gravel Hill gets to see it, right?
Well, this is
Yeah, yeah.
not.
I think you can slap solar panels on the top of the town. We've looked at it before, and if there were solar panels on the roof of the town hall, then the only place you could actually see them is from a spot on Grays Road, and I've been to the spot on Grays Road, and that's it. You can't see them anywhere else. And I think putting solar panels on this building is okay. It's that tile roof I'm looking at, it's not.
Okay, so we agreed that we should put a sentence in about solar panels in conservation areas, yeah? Okay, thank you.
Can I make one point?
Yes.
Sun comes up in the east and goes down in the west, so you're gonna get the sunlight from this side on the town road if you want to, and also on the back, solar panels.
That is how the sun works.
Okay, item 11, which is works to trees with tree protection orders. Now, this is come to light because we've had a number of incidences in Henley whereby tree works have been done to trees with tree preservation orders, and we have not been notified. It hasn't been on our planning agendas. So TPOs that are going to be listed make it to our planning agendas, but if the reverse is true, it doesn't make it to our planning agendas. So we just want to know from councillors, should we be writing to SODC to make sure that we have some safeguarding for TPOs in place here at the planning committee?
Yes. But what can be done about it? Remember we've discussed it before, doing like aerial shots of the town to sort of mark on trees and survey them and bits like that, but I mean, this is what we have with developers all the time, like if they do it 6 months before they put in an application and bits like that, how are we as a small group or SODC ever meant to know that a tree has disappeared?
Well, because if it's a TPO, they have to get permission from the tree officer to actually cut it down.
But that's if they do it the right way, whereas isn't this saying
Well,
that what happens if work carries out and they haven't submitted a plan? Well,
You have to get permission to do any work on a TPO.
yes, councillor
What is
Gavshak.
the issue? That's what I'm
So
asking.
trees with TPO orders
Yeah.
on them are being chopped down without it coming to the
Yeah.
town council.
If a tree has a TPO order and it's chopped down, then there's a £10,000 fine.
Yeah, but the tree officer is allowing it to happen.
When? Where?
So the most recent one is just behind Makins Road, Manor Road.
Manor Road, the footpath that runs along Manor
And
Road.
how did the tree officer allow it to happen?
Yeah, was it
They gave
problem with it?
permission.
They gave permission, yeah.
Was
And
there-
there was another one on Grays Road where they put permission as well.
Was there a problem with the tree?
No?
Then certainly if a TPO is removed from the tree, it should definitely be notified to us.
Yeah.
Agreed, absolutely.
Are you all in agreement?
Also, the discussion for it actually coming down should probably come to us, shouldn't it? I mean, that's the basis, rather than just the decision, we should actually get this tree is coming down because it's in poor condition, with danger to health or whatever, and then we can go, okay, it makes sense, or we can go, no, that's a perfectly good tree, that's a ridiculous.
But also, when one is damaged by, not necessarily got a TPO on it, but it's in a conservation area, for instance. And it gets damaged, or it gets knocked down by a van or something. They don't replace it with another tree, they just come and put some tarmac in it. That's another situation that's gotta be,
We've just chopped down a lot of trees by the river.
that's another story.
Every day I paddle past one tree.
Yeah, let's not go there. Okay, thank you.
Was there a resolution out of that?
Yeah.
Yes, the resolution is that we all agree that we are going to petition SODC to ensure that we have a say before the tree preservation orders are removed from trees.
Yep.
Okay, and the last item is number 12, which is progress report for applications called in. Do we have anything to report at all?
No.
No movement there. Okay, all right then, when I declare this meeting closed, many thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Chair.